So today is the day. Today is the day where I talk about my 22-year-long addiction to a game that I call Runescape. If you don't know what Runescape is, it's an online role-playing game that is basically very nerdy, and a lot of people compare it to World of Warcraft. You see, games like this have so much content in them, it kind of makes sense for somebody like me to play for so long. So this is going to be a little bit of a lengthy story. I'm going to try to keep this video a little bit short, but nonetheless, I have a lot of pictures to show you, and a lot of things have happened over the years, and it was a bit of a long journey. So here we go. So going back 22 years, this leads us to 2004, which basically takes me to 5th grade at being about 9 years old. So we used to have this computer class that was down the hall. And I remember one student that sat next to me, he was playing a game that was fairly interesting. And ironically enough, the game was RuneScape. So basically he gave me the brief walkthrough of what the game is and what it's like and what you can do in it. So I decided to sign up and, play with them in class. So if some of you have played this game, you know that you start out in Tutorial Island. You create your character and you go through, you learn about the skills, and then eventually you reach a place called Lumbridge. I only had about 10 minutes in class, so I only really did a little bit of the tutorial, and that was pretty much it. But when I went home that day, I ended up beating the tutorial and I went to Lumbridge. And I will admit to you, I was very confused when I got to Lumbridge because I had no idea what to do or where to go. You see, games like this don't necessarily tell you what you need to do next. This game wasn't anything like I was used to, like Crash Bandicoot or Frogger, where the path is pretty clear. This game was very open world. You were able to cut trees, travel, do quests, all sorts of things. But I didn't know what to do or when I should be doing them. I mean, this was 2004. We didn't even have YouTube just yet. And because I didn't know what I was doing shortly after, I unfortunately quit for a little bit. But it wasn't until 2006 until I came back full time into RuneScape. Basically, for whatever reason, around this time, MMOs were just extremely popular. This includes World of Warcraft and, well, of course, RuneScape. At least with WoW, I think this was around the time Burning Crusade came out. Don't quote me on that. I'm not a WoW player, but I just kind of remember that being a thing back then. But anyways, most of my friends in middle school, I was in 6th or 7th grade at that time, they ended up getting back into RuneScape. I was a little bit older, I was a little bit more mature, so I kind of knew what to do at that point now. So pretty much I came back and I started playing again, and basically the rest was history. But I'm going to go over that because it's interesting. So this is 2006. This was the time period where I still did not have a half-decent computer, even to run a game like RuneScape. I would basically play this game for about 20 minutes, and then I would DC for about another 10 because it would take that long to reload the page. Also, too, this game was basically just a browser game. You couldn't do all the stuff that you could do with RuneLite and full screen clients. Like, we didn't have any of that stuff back then. It was very primitive. But nonetheless, I had a bad computer that I had to deal with. And I love the game that much to the point where I will play it on a bad computer. Today, I don't think I would. But one day, I'll never forget it, I somehow ended up in the sheep pen, and I was trying to shear them for their wool, so I can make balls of wool, so I can make jewelry. And for some reason, I misclicked on a ram. And unfortunately, I DC'd around that time and I logged back in and I died. Now, before I continue any further, I will tell you that I didn't know about banks. I didn't know that you can put all of your items or most of your items in a safe place like a bank. So I had everything on me. And also I will tell you that I wasn't much of a combat person. I always just cut trees and mined ore south of Lumbridge, and I kept all my cash on me. So yeah, I didn't really know what I was doing. And also I didn't mention that if you haven't played RuneScape before, you won't know that when you die in RuneScape, you lose all but 3 of your items on death. So I lost a lot of things. And also our grave system wasn't good back then. So I basically lost all my things. And unfortunately, I lost my bronze axe. I couldn't go on without being able to cut trees. And it took me forever to figure out that there was actually a bronze axe right across the river in a log, but that's not the point. But basically that was the first time I died in RuneScape, and I'll never forget that. This was also a very interesting time period back then because we didn't really know what to do. A lot of the game was just trial and error. I mean, basically you would learn off of the kid next to you killing hill giants. I mean, back then we had things like Sal's Realm, Rune HQ, Tippet, Zybez. I mean, even YouTube wasn't really much of a thing back then. I mean, we didn't have things like RS Wiki or Twitch to, go find the answers for these things. But nonetheless, over time, eventually, somehow, I convinced my mom to buy me membership. And my mom did not like paying for anything online. Because eventually, over time, we got prepaid cards you can buy at like Walmart and Home Depot and stuff like that. And then also, too, you can buy bonds, which that's another story. But unfortunately, most of my friends didn't get membership, and eventually I was playing by myself. For some reason, I don't know how, but I managed to not quit. But nonetheless, I was meeting friends online. I was going on Ventrilo, which was a thing back then. Yes, Ventrilo. Besides the voice technology, pretty much I continued my goals of hitting my max cape, which is basically, if you don't know, you're getting 99 in every single skill. That was my ultimate goal. This was around 2011. So eventually I did achieve that goal in very early 2012, which if you add 2012 plus RuneScape, you'll know that that equals Evolution of Combat, which is probably the most controversial update of all time, which is the reason why we have an old school RuneScape and RuneScape 3. And around that point, people were either either deciding whether they're going to continue playing RuneScape or they're going to switch over to old school. We're now at 2012, 2013 era. I have my max cape and a lot of my friends quit. So what's the next step for me? I went for this thing called the Trim Completionist Cape, getting 99 every skill, 120 dungeoneering, all quests, music, spells unlocked, plus a lot more. And eventually I got my Trim Completionist Cape near the end of 2013. And during that time period, I met some of my friends that I'm still friends with to this day, 13 years later. And 2013, 2014, in my opinion, was the era where PVMing in RuneScape 3 was actually starting to become very good. By 2014, we had bosses like Virago, Rise of the Six, and Araxor, which were very fun and, in my opinion, very profitable. And around late 2014 was when I bought my blue party hat, which I still have to this day, that I paid 3.4 bill for. So yeah, thanks, Lamey. And after I achieved my blue party hat, which was basically glued to my head instantly after I bought it, I ended up going for 5.4 bill XP, which what that is getting 200 million experience in every single skill in the game. And around this time was when I was really ramping up the hours that I was playing every single day. So by that point, I was playing every day after school up until I would go to bed. I was playing every single weekend, and basically the hours that I would sleep would slowly drop over time. This was a very interesting time period because I counted every single minute of my day towards gaining experience. I had everything planned out. I had all my dailies scheduled and everything, but this is what we all did, so it was normal. Throughout the many years of warbands drama and constantly getting stressed out over bonus experience weekends and dailies, I achieved 5.4 billion experience in early 2017, which means I get to sleep more than 4 hours a day. So yeah, it was a very interesting time. My last skill was defense, and I went from I think 23 million experience all the way up to 200 mil in one shot. Not literally one shot, but basically without training anything else. I was killing abyssal demons with mechanized shins at the top of the Slayer Tower. I think I was gaining like 1.5 an hour. That's with Refer a Friend. That was an interesting time period too, because I'd have to constantly make 10-minute mails to make new RuneScape accounts, put bonds on it just so I can get 10% more bonus experience on my main every single week. At this point, that would be a very pricey investment, and bonds were cheap back then too. Also, when I got 5.4, I was ranked I think 138 when I got it. Just so you know, I'm not that rank anymore just because we have new skills that came out and that adjusted the max experience for it. But after 5.4, at that point, I wasn't playing nearly as much. I would actually sleep 8 hours a day. So basically what I did was I got my trim requirements back for my trim cape and I went back into PVMing. You know, by this point, I had to get used to flanking switches, I had to get used to augments, and I had to also get used to continuous four-ticking, which was a sweaty ego kid method that nobody really does anymore because it's nerfed. Nonetheless, it's just how it was back then. But PVM was very fun. But basically my goal at that point was to get my party hat set, which I don't think I can find any of my photos with my full party hat set, but I do have all the placeholders in my bank. Nonetheless, I still have my blue, white, and Christmas cracker to this day. So when I completed my party hat set, that was around 2019. And by 2020, of course, you know, we had COVID hit. Around that time, in March of 2020, we also had the new skill called Archaeology, which gave us 5.6 bill total experience. And I have not seen that many players play RuneScape ever since. Reason being is because everybody was at home playing RuneScape. I mean, what else are you supposed to do during COVID? By late 2020, we had this thing called Insane Reaper, which was basically achieved by getting every single unique boss drop from every boss in the game. And 3 months later, March of 2021, is when I got my title. There's even an unofficial high score that was ran by Base Tank at that point, and I was actually pretty decently ranked on here too. Then in August of 2023, we had the new skill called Necromancy come out, which was the 4th combat style. It was meant to be a neutral style, and it's not meant to be good or weak against anything, but nonetheless, it was still the most busted style for quite some time. It was a lot easier to use, and it was a lot cheaper to use than range. Sometime after 5.8 billion experience, which was after Necromancy, I ended up going for my 5k Castle Wars cape, which was one of the last things that I actually ever wanted to achieve on this game. And to be honest with you, ever since I actually achieved my 5k Castle Wars game, I've been a very casual player. And unfortunately in 2026, when I'm filming this video, the state of the game isn't really as good as it used to be. Recently, they've been trying to clean up the game and trying to take care of all the garbage that's in the game and remove some of the updates that should have never been released in the first place, so they can try to bring back the community and revive the game. I've met very interesting players that I PVM'd with that ended up doing very bad things, like leaking phone numbers on Twitch and going to jail for things I'm not going to mention. I remember when one top page player punched another top page player in the face at RuneFest, which is an official RuneScape event hosted by Jagex, and I still have the original Golden Scythe owner list, which was a discontinued item about 15 years ago. But today, in 2026, I'm no longer an RS3 player. I more or less just play old school RuneScape on my Iron Man. So I hope this explains why I put so many RuneScape memes in my shorts. So yeah, thanks for watching.